Hello, this is Jimmy Akingbade. So today we'll be looking at the concept of safety inspection as it connects to the field of occupational safety and health. So a safety inspection is the process of examining the working environment. We want to examine the working environment in order to identify any habits or conditions that are not safe for the worker. Then we also want to evaluate the effectiveness of our control measures. The control measures we put in place to address the unsafe working habits and conditions. Are they effective in addressing such unsafe working habits and conditions? Then, whenever such um, control measures are not effective enough, we want to recommend corrective action so that at the end of the day, we do not only succeed in identifying unsafe working habits and conditions, we also specify what needs to be done in addressing them. So, those unsafe working habits and conditions are called a hazard or hazards. So, a hazard is any act, working habit, or condition that can cause harm to life or property. So the goal in safety inspection is to not only identify hazards, but to also take care of them, to also address them before they can cause harm to life or property. Of course, in terms of property, we are looking at damage to our equipment. In terms of life, we're obviously looking at damage to the health of the worker. So we have different types of hazards. Hazards could be in form of chemicals like acids, corrosive chemicals, corrosive substances. Could also be in form of biological hazards. So of course, recently we have the new hazard of COVID-19. Then we could also be in form of ergonomic hazards, improper design of workstation, bending, twisting, repetitive movements. Then we have psychosocial hazards, which could be in form of stress, violence, fatigue. Hazards could also be in form of physical hazards, excessive noise, temperature extremes. So, for example, if workers work in a very cold environment or very hot environment, they could also have safety hazards, inappropriate or insufficient machine guarding, probably uh, the machine guarding for a particular machine is not sufficient enough to prevent workers from being injured by sharp parts of the machine. So we have different types of safety inspection. We have the pre-operation inspection, which involves inspecting an equipment or work process. So before we start cultivating a particular work process or start using an equipment, we want to identify how it could be harmful to the worker so that at the end of the day, we don't run the risk of somebody getting injured while the equipment is being used or the work process is being carried out. Then we have spot inspection, which is unannounced, random. So we randomly check certain parts of the workplace to identify how people actually work. The essence of this is one to see the true picture of how people actually work. Are they following the safety procedures or safe working habits? Then we have the regular planned inspection. This is done on a regular basis. Of course, safety inspection should be done on a regular basis. So this usually covers all areas of the workplace. Then we can have critical parts inspection, which involves examining certain parts of a machine or equipment. So those parts could be sharp, There could be parts that could lead to electrocution. So we want to ensure that we're able to identify such parts that can be hazardous to the worker. So recommendation could be, for example, having a machine guard for those sensitive parts so that in as much as workers have to use that equipment, they are not injured by those sensitive parts. So safety inspection should cover all areas of the workplace. So our focus should not be limited to where a lot of people work. So even where a lot of people don't work, like your storage area, where you don't have a lot of people, such area should also be inspected so that you don't have a situation where there are certain things that are being done in those areas that can compromise the safety of your workers. Then for the safety inspection, we should also focus on the equipment, which we've emphasized, the way we work and the working environment. For example, do we have wet surfaces? Uh, do we have temperature extremes in the environment? So who should do the safety inspection? Members of the safety committee. So a safety committee is a group of people that are charged with managing safety in the workplace primarily. So they work with other employees of the organization to ensure that safety is maintained in the workplace. Supervisors and employees should also be involved in safety inspection. So in the process of carrying out your safety inspection, you can ask certain questions from the employees. So for example, for employees that use a particular machine, you can actually ask them if they've observed certain parts of the machine that are harmful to them one way or the other, or if they perceive certain parts of the machine to be harmful one way or the other. Then types of hazards to look out for. We're essentially looking out for the hazards we've looked at, types of hazards, chemical hazards, biological hazards, uh, physical hazards. So as much as possible, we want to identify the hazards in the workplace and not be caught unaware. So safety inspection frequency. According to the proposed OSHI bill in Nigeria, it should be done at least once in every 3 months. So that's the minimum required. However, there are other factors that can determine the frequency of the safety inspection. So it could be frequency of accidents. So if you have a lot of accidents occurring in the workplace, it means there are lots of hazards in the workplace. So it means your safety inspection has to be carried out on a more regular basis. Number and size of work operations. If you have two companies, for example, where company A, they have three types of operations being done. Company B, six types of operations. So ideally, the frequency of safety inspection in company B should be more than that of company A, since company B involves more operations. The number of shifts. Remember, you don't want to assume that everybody working on every shift is abiding by the safety procedures and safe working habits. So that's why we want to ensure that we conduct the safety inspection on every shift. Then, whenever you have new process or equipment being used, you need to carry out your safety inspection so that before we start embarking on that process or using the new equipment, we know how it could be harmful and can put measures in place to minimize or even prevent uh, damage to life and property. So those are the factors that can determine the frequency of safety inspection. So hope you've learned some things regarding safety inspection and how to keep your workplace much more safer. So have a very great week and bye.